Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I wasn't gonna make a video about this topic because it is very complex, but at the end of the day I decided why not give my opinion on what's going on in the Middle East. Now here is the country of Israel. On the map you see Israel in red, and those gray areas are Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And when people say Palestine, they are referring to those gray areas. And when they say free Palestine, they're saying that they want the entirety of Israel to be Palestine. So all of that you see colored in red. Imagine if it were all gray. That's basically what's going on. Now in the beginning, I was more 50-50 about this whole Israel-Palestine thing. I really didn't know much about it. But what really got me interested was Mark Lamont Hill being fired from CNN. He gave a speech at the United Nations where he criticized Israel and said they were mistreating the Muslims, the Palestinians who lived there. And when that happened, I was like, wow, he was really fired for speaking his mind on something happening in a different country. Then 3 years later, Israeli police stormed Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. It's one of the most important mosques in the Muslim world. And this happened during Ramadan, the Muslim holiday. So 350 people were arrested, over 50 were injured. And I'm just like, whoa, Israel, what is going on? So you kind of see my sympathies kind of aligned with Palestine just a little bit. Now to further the escalation, Israel cut off water and electricity in the Gaza Strip. So as I said before, a lot of Palestinians live in the Gaza Strip. And basically Israel did this because Hamas is a terrorist group, and the terrorist group controls the Gaza Strip. But it's a tricky situation because you're doing it to get at the terrorists, but at the same time, there are thousands upon thousands of innocent civilians who are being affected by that. So not an easy thing to talk about. Which brings us to this year, why everyone is saying free Palestine or stand with Israel. On October 7th, Muslim jihadists, that terrorist group I told you about that resides in the Gaza Strip, they snuck into Israel and murdered over 1,000 Jewish people. A lot of people were beaten and taken as hostages by Hamas, which is just depressing to even think about. But for me, what's even more depressing is all of the people in America who support Palestine who don't even want to condemn these actions. They're saying that this is justified, and they're pretending as if these terrorists had a right to murder all of these Jews. As I said before, in the beginning, I was more 50-50. I was sympathetic to a lot of the things that Palestinians and Muslims have to go through in Israel and how they're being suppressed in some ways. Those things really did stand out to me. But when you tell me that all of these Jewish people who are innocent civilians can just be murdered, that's when I sort of draw the line. Because at this point, you're not drawing a distinction between military people and innocent civilians.
Hamas is not a terrorist group.
Oh, it isn't, man.
First of all, Hamas is not a terrorist group. Hamas is not a terrorist group.
What is it, like a motorcycle club?
It is a resistance that has been fuming for 75 years of colonialism, of occupation, of murder, of rape, of little children, of women. That's what they are. They are resistance.
Do you think Canada is a colonialist country too?
Everything that they do is justified.
Including what happened last week?
Every single thing they have done is justified.
Ma'am, there were children murdered, there were babies beheaded.
Babies beheaded, really? Please educate yourself.
Yeah, that's insane. I think it's perfectly possible to stand with Palestine and want Palestinian people to have certain rights, while also condemning Hamas, which is a terrorist group. And what y'all gotta understand is that I am an American trying to figure this out. And when I see people defending these terrorists for killing all of these innocent Jews, when I see people attacking innocent Jewish people at these protests, when I see people doing all of these things, saying these crazy things, what you have to understand is that you lose people like me. Yes, there are legitimate reasons to be angry at Israel. Like I said before, the water and electricity being cut out at the Gaza Strip, the attack on the mosque, all of these innocent Muslims being arrested, people having their rights taken away, people being suppressed. There are things that you can condemn the Israeli government for, and I am not stopping you. I completely agree with you, actually. But the problem for me is when you can't say there are bad actors on our side. there are terrorists on our side that need to be condemned. There are terrorists on our side that need to be called out. When you can't do those things, at some point, I'm gonna have to question your moral code. That may offend people, but I'm just being honest. So as I briefly mentioned earlier, after the attack that happened on October 7th, after the massacre that happened, some people were taken alive. They were taken as hostages. A lot of these people were little kids. So in New York City, people were putting up posters of the Jewish kids that had been kidnapped by these terrorists. Y'all tell me why there are people tearing these posters down. There are people who are pro-Palestine ripping down the posters of missing Jewish kids in Israel.
Of posters of kidnapped people by terrorists.
Yeah, you can smile also. A lot of people. If you don't have human life, you don't love human life, you can smile also. Yeah, you can smile.
I do love human.
Clever.
Like, why? Why are you doing that? Alright guys, that is it for this video. It was a complicated one. Obviously, everyone has an opinion on this Israel-Palestine thing. You see it on the news, you see it on social media, and I just wanted to give my personal take on it, how I was a little bit more 50-50, a little bit more understanding where the Palestinians were coming from, where Muslims were coming from. But with all the things that are happening now, with people ripping down these posters of missing kids, attacking Jewish people, saying these crazy things, defending these terrorists, it's like you're going to lose support. And I just wish both sides could look at what they're doing wrong. Israel can acknowledge that they're not giving water and electricity to people who live within the Gaza Strip. They're stripping certain people of their rights. The Muslims, the Palestinians, can acknowledge that the terrorists are not doing great things. I wish both Muslims and Jews could look at themselves in the mirror and say, we both have things we're doing wrong. We both have work to do. But unfortunately, with the way things are, people can only see what they want to see. And that's probably not really going to happen. So on a bright side, if there is a bright side, leave your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you think. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe. I'll see you next time.